Hello, everyone. Hey, welcome. Welcome back. I hope everyone had a great lunch and was able to cut through the lines. This talk is one of my most exciting, personal opinion here, not of Toa, talks. And I think it is also very exciting for all of you guys here. So what I would love is if you could all please move in, and if you've got a free seat next to you, this is a great chance to meet someone new. If you've got a free seat next to you, I want you to put your hand up and wave. Yeah? Put your hand up and wave. Okay, guys that are entering. See all these people? They're all saying hello. If you could come sit next to them, that would be great. And we're going to get going in about 5 minutes. Who's excited for this talk? There we go.
I wish everybody would be quiet and nice.
And don't throw rocks.
Yeah,
And don't shoot guns.
right,
And come home safe.
right.
'Cause we miss you. 'Cause we miss you.
Hello and welcome, everybody. Yes, welcome. Welcome back after lunch. I hope you guys had a great little break in the awesome, amazing weather that Berlin has given us. Just one quick thing. As you can see, this is a very, very popular talk, and I'm very excited, and I guess you guys are too. So again, if you've got a seat free next to you, or a space, or a little crouching position, can you put your hand in the air and shake it around like you just don't care? Okay, guys, standing in the door, come on, say hello. Move in, please. Thank you so much. Yep, some down the front. Come on, we're going to wait for you. All right, cool. So, yes. So, who's excited for this talk? Yeah, fantastic. So, what is the next big thing in tech? Yeah, there we go. I think we already know who's coming on stage. I'd love to introduce, and it'd be my absolute honor to introduce one of like the movers and shakers in the techs and love. And she does this make love, not porn. And oh God, so many great things and so many things people should be really talking about. And I'd love to invite on stage Cindy Gallop.
Hello, Berlin. I'm here to tell you how I accidentally became a sex tech founder and why I want all of you to start and fund sex tech. So I date younger men. They tend to be men in their 20s. And through dating younger men, about 9 or 10 years ago, I began realizing that I was encountering an issue which would never have crossed my mind if I had not encountered it so intimately and personally. I realized I was encountering what happens when today's total freedom of access to hardcore porn online meets our society's equally total reluctance to talk openly and honestly about sex. The convergence of both of those factors results in porn becoming, by default, the sex education of today in not a good way. And so I found myself encountering a number of sexual behavioral memes. I went, whoa, I know where that behavior is coming from. And I decided to do something about it. So 8 years ago, I put up on no money a tiny, clunky little website at makelovenotporn.com that posts the myths of hardcore porn and balances them with reality. So the construct is porn world versus real world. I had the opportunity to launch Make Love Not Porn at TED. And as a result, I am the only TED speaker to have uttered the words, "come on my face," on the TED stage 6 times. The talk went viral as a result, and it drove an extraordinary response to my tiny, clunky website that I had never anticipated. So much so that I felt I now had a personal responsibility to take this initiative forwards in a way that would make it much more far-reaching, helpful, and effective. So I saw an opportunity to do something that I believe in very strongly, which is that the future of business is doing good and making money simultaneously. I saw the opportunity for a big business solution to a huge, untapped global social need. So what I have to emphasize is that Make Love Not Porn is not anti-porn because the issue isn't porn. The issue is that we don't talk about sex in the real world. If we did, amongst many other benefits, people would then bring a real-world mindset to the viewing of what is simply artificial entertainment. Our tagline at Make Love Not Porn is pro-sex, pro-porn, pro-knowing the difference. And our mission is one thing only, to help make it easier to talk about sex. Talk about sex openly and honestly in the public domain, and talk about sex openly and honestly privately in your intimate relationships. And so I decided to take every dynamic that exists out there in social media currently and apply them to the one area no other social platform is ever going to go in order to socialize sex and to make real-world sex and talking about it socially acceptable and therefore ultimately just as socially shareable as anything else we share on Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram. So 3.5 years ago, my team and I launched the first stage of this vision, which is MakeLoveNotPorn.tv, which is an entirely user-generated, crowdsourced video sharing platform that celebrates real-world sex. Anybody from anywhere in the world can submit to us videos of themselves having real-world sex. And we are very clear what we mean by this. We're not porn. We're not amateur. We're building a whole new category online that has never previously existed, social sex. So our competition isn't porn, it's Facebook and YouTube, or it would be if Facebook and YouTube allowed sexual self-expression and self-identification, which they don't. So real-world sex videos and Make Love Not Porn are not about performing for the camera. They're simply about doing what you do on every other social platform, which is capturing what goes on in the real world as it happens in all its funny, messy, glorious, silly, beautiful, wonderful humanness. We curate to make sure of that, watch every video to make sure it's real. And we have a revenue-sharing business model. I believe the business model of the future is shared values plus shared action equals shared profit, financial profit and social profit. I designed Make Love Not Porn around that business model. So you pay to rent and stream real-world sex videos, and then 50% of that income goes to our contributors, or as we like to call them, our Make Love Not Porn stars. Because we would like our Make Love Not Porn stars one day to be as famous and celebrated as YouTube stars, for the same reasons: authenticity, realness, individuality, and we would like them to make just as much money. We want to hit the kind of critical mass where one day your real-world sex video on Make Love Not Porn could hit 1 million rentals at $5 per rental, and we give you half of that income. We are the answer to the global economy, by the way. Now, all we're doing, really, is think about it like this. Think about those celebrations of relationships that crop up on your Facebook timeline from your friends. Engagement announcements, wedding photos, lovey-dovey coupley things. We're providing a platform to celebrate that one area of human relationships nobody else will let you, but the motivations and the social dynamics are exactly the same. So on Facebook from your friends, it's, we're madly in love. And so here we are on a romantic weekend in Paris, kissing in front of the Eiffel Tower. And on Make Love Not Porn, it's, we're madly in love. And here's the great sex we had in our hotel room in Paris on that weekend. Exactly the same deal. All we're doing is engaging and connecting people around the social sharing of sex, to open up communication around sex, to get to better sex, to get to better relationships, to get to better lives. Now, when I embarked on this venture, I had no idea my team and I would fight a battle every single day to build it. Because every piece of infrastructure any other tech startup can take for granted, we can't, because the small print always says no adult content. And this is all pervasive across funding, banking, payments, every tech service, hosting, encoding, encrypting. And so I realized very early on that I was going to have to pave my own way, because every obstacle we face boils down to one dynamic only, which is the social dynamic that I call fear of what other people will think. It is never what the person I'm talking to thinks. When you understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, nobody can argue with it. It is always their fear of what they think other people will think, which operates around sex more than any other area. And by the way, fear of what other people will think is the single most paralyzing dynamic in business and in life. You will never own the future if you care what other people think. So I realized I was going to have to break down this barrier. So I am doing what I tell other entrepreneurs to do, which is when you have a truly world-changing startup, you have to change the world to fit it, not the other way around. And so I realized that I was going to have to pioneer and champion my own sector in order to open up the minds of the tech and business world to my own startup. So I am championing sex tech, and I've defined sex tech as any form of technology or tech venture that enhances, innovates, and disrupts in any area of human sexuality and sexual experience. And I'm here to tell you, Toa Berlin, that if you want to breed the next generation of unicorns, start and fund sex tech. 5 reasons why. Here's number one. Sex tech delivers the biggest and most profound social benefit of any area of tech. Because we're so screwed up about sex, we default sex to a thing we do, to an act. It's not. It's personality. Who we are sexually is a fundamental driver of how we feel about ourselves, other people, our relationships, our lives, our happiness. And understanding this is particularly important because the reason we're doing what we're doing at Make Love Not Porn is the average age today at which a child is first exposed to hardcore porn online is 8 years old. And a global study done 3 years ago by Bitdefender indicates that age had actually dropped to 6. This is not because 8-year-olds and 6-year-olds go looking for porn. They don't. It's a function of what, in the digital world we live in today, is utterly inevitable and cannot be prevented. They stumble across it. And so, in an era where it's now critically important that we talk to children about sex in the home as early as possible, and it's imperative that at the same time we talk to them about porn. And by the way, somewhere in this audience is Nina, who is 9 months old. I'm really glad her father is starting her off in the right way. But because of that, we cannot go on operating around sex and porn the way we always have. The answer to everything that worries people about this is not to clamp down, shut down, censor, block, repress. The answer is to open up. Open up the dialogue in the way we're working to at Make Love Not Porn. Open up to welcoming, supporting, and funding the entrepreneurs who want to disrupt all of this for the better, and open up to allowing us to do business in the same way everybody else does. And when you do that, you completely transform the entire business landscape associated with sex. I like to repurpose Wayne LaPierre of the NRA's infamous gun control quote. The only thing that stops a bad guy with a business is a good guy with a better business. So, reason number one, social benefit. That's the last time today I'm going to talk about social benefit. The next 4 reasons are all to do with the absolute goddamn fucking shit ton of money you can make through sex tech. This is the single biggest money-making market opportunity of them all. Peter Thiel writes in his book, 0 to 1, what valuable company is nobody else building? Secrets about people are relatively underappreciated. What are people not allowed to talk about? What is forbidden or taboo? The best problems to work on are often the ones nobody else even tries to solve. Peter Thiel is not taking his own advice because he's not investing in sex tech. That's a very big mistake, Peter, because, oh my God, the money there is to be made. And the money to be made in 2 areas, the second one of which right now nobody even thinks about because no one even thinks it's possible. So the first area is obviously the money to be made out of sex. We all have it. We all enjoy it. Recession-proof. Market never goes away. But the second area is, oh my God, the money there is to be made out of socially acceptable sex. When you do what we're doing at Make Love Not Porn, socialize sex, make it socially acceptable and shareable, you potentially double, triple, quadruple your returns when you normalize people feeling really okay about publicly buying into your goods and services, then publicly doing what they do with everything else, advocate, share, recommend, and publicly badging themselves as brand ambassadors. That's the trillion-dollar financial future we're going after. And the proof of how achievable that is out there right now. Because at this moment in time, the single highest income grossing author in the world is E.L. James. The author of 50 Shades of Grey has out-earned Dan Brown, Jim Patterson, Michael Crichton. 50 Shades of movie broke box office opening weekend records. That is the financial power of socially acceptable, socially shareable sex. Something that John Evans of TechCrunch really understood when he covered us last year and said, socially acceptable sex is a huge market. More interestingly, it's a huge new market. And even more interestingly, are the broader business implications of normalizing sex. People have sex in cars. A lot of people have a lot of sex in cars. And yet the automotive industry is spectacularly failing to factor this into product design and marketing. Even more fundamentally, people have sex in bed, and yet the mattress industry focuses its entire R&D on sleep. Casper, I'm looking at you. I know you're here. You're missing a huge business opportunity. People have sex on kitchen counters. The kitchen industry is failing to capitalize on that. There are many, many brands, products, and services who would benefit from normalizing this universal area of consumer experience. Reason number 3, every infrastructure challenge that sex tech founders face is a huge disruptive business opportunity in itself. Every point I'm making in this talk today is an entire presentation itself. And so I will just say very briefly that the first bank that welcomes honest, legal, decent, transparent, ethical sex tech ventures, the first payment processor that processes payments for honest, legal, decent, ethical sex tech ventures, the first hosting company, tech service company that welcomes sex tech ventures, stands to clean up colossally in a way that no tech infrastructure service has even begun to see. Reason number 4, everything is redeployable. Rule 34 of the internet: if it exists, there is porn of it. Gallup's rule: if tech exists, it's redeployable as sex tech. Every single form of technology, every dynamic that is driving huge business success and money in the tech arena can absolutely be redeployed in the service of sex. At Make Love Not Porn alone, we are leveraging a whole bunch of those market dynamics. User-generated, crowdsourced. Video sharing. Video is the future. Video is communication today. Social sharing. Ephemeral. We are ephemeral in a way that Snapchat and WhatsApp no longer are. We operate a rent and stream model versus a download and own because our commitment to our Make Love Not Porn stars is the moment anything changes, your relationship, your life, your circumstances, just your mind, all you have to do is tell us, we take your videos down, they're gone forever, they're nowhere else on the internet. Nobody else does that. And data, boy oh boy, we have the potential to be the Kinsey of today. Real world, real life, real-time human sexual behavior in an era that is notoriously research and data free, because for all the reasons we battle, nobody is funding the ComScore of sex, another infrastructure opportunity. And in the area of research and data where there is the widest gap between what people say and what people actually do. And we are all about what people actually do. So for the future, move from the cliche of the Uber for blank to the blank for sex, because that's where the money is. And reason number 5, one word: women. The most innovative startups in sex tech today are coming from female founders because we are finally owning our own sexuality and we are finding truly disruptive ways in which to innovate within it. And this is the point at which I could give you a huge list, which unfortunately I can't, so I'm going to just throw out a few. Alexandra Fine and Janet Lieberman of Dame Products, who came up with the Ava that women wear during sex to give them an orgasm. Interestingly, the female version of Lovely, which is for the male to wear in this context. Won Seng, Royal College of Art graduate in London, has created a completely new approach to sex toys, a range of wearables that instead of focusing on vibration and orgasm, replicate the sensation of a lover slightly lightly blowing on your skin. Gentle grazes, light touches, a completely different approach to erotic arousal. My friend Tina Gong, whose app Happy Playtime destigmatizes female masturbation by gamifying it, helping women learn how to get themselves off with a secondary audience, obviously in straight men. And all of this is happening for the same reason. Female founders are the ones to watch in every area of tech. Women challenge the status quo because we are never it. And so if you want real innovation and disruption, look at female founders, because there is a huge amount of money to be made out of taking women seriously, especially in this area. There is a huge amount of money to be made in the area of women's needs, wants, and desires that have historically been deemed too embarrassing, sensitive, taboo, or shameful to be addressed through business ventures. The market is unbelievably huge, and obviously, when you reach a huge primary audience of women, you also reach a huge secondary audience of extremely happy men. Female founders are the ones to bet on because we are forged in fire. It's a very good thing, given the obstacles I've detailed, that the single dynamic that most motivates me, that keeps me going through startup stress, is the dynamic that I call, I'm going to fucking well show you. You tell me it can't be done, I'm going to fucking well show you. You put an obstacle on the path, I'm going to fucking well show you. Every obstacle a tech founder encounters, have a sex tech startup triple them. If you want to back founders, we're the ones to back. Now, I want to, as the last part of this presentation, I want to give you two more holistic approaches to sex tech. The three huge disruption opportunities in tech today are sex, cannabis, and Bitcoin. And ironically, investors are flooding into the other two more than they are the first, which means that VCs and startups in cannabis and Bitcoin can afford to fund lobbyists, regulation change, public education initiatives, foundations, all things we need in sex tech. When we have the funding to do that, when we have the funding to lobby to change the definition legally of adult content, we completely change the landscape of how and why and where we do business. I study the cannabis market very closely because there are many analogies between sex tech and what is happening in cannabis. And so here's the first holistic opportunity I want to highlight to you. The privateer holdings of sex tech. Privateer Holdings was started 10 years ago by three men from private equity who saw the huge opportunity in the rapidly legalizing cannabis industry. They started Privateer to build brands and legitimize them in cannabis. They struggled 10 years ago to raise $7.2 million. Last year, they raised $75 million, led by Peter Thiel and Founders Fund, and this year, they're raising $100 million. There is a huge opportunity for the privateer holdings of sex tech. What I want to build, and I'm looking for backers, I want to spearhead the sex tech incubator, accelerator, fund, and holding company of the future. With Make Love Not Porn as the hub of this, we deliver two things that are of benefit to every sex tech venture. We normalize and socialize sex, and we deliver social sex content. That is product demonstration, product communication, product advertising in a way that nobody else offers. And then around that hub, a portfolio of companies characterized by two filters. True outliers, the real innovators and disruptors in sex tech that therefore come from female founders and understand and are empathetic with the enormous market there is for women in sex tech. You want deal flow, I'll show you deal flow. And by the way, for investors who are brave enough and forward-thinking enough to want to do this, I can also show you the deal flow that is the future of porn. I've been talking about sex tech, and that's a very different thing. But I have a lot of friends in the porn industry. You may or may not know this, but Make Love Not Porn is the only place on the internet where porn stars share the sex they have offset in the real world. Because porn stars have real-world sex too. My straight, gay, lesbian, trans porn star friends share with us the sex they have in their real-world relationships. And I can tell you that my friend Stoya, whom I'm sure a lot of you are very familiar with, she has her own company, Trenchcoat. But you haven't even begun to see the kind of porn that she wants to create that is the future of porn if she only had the funding and the backers to do it. Nothing like anything you see in the porn industry today. My friend Danny Wilde, ex-male porn star, went to film school, is doing amazingly creative things in film. Again, with funding, he's the future of porn. My friend Ella Darling, pioneering in VR porn, again with the right backing, she's the future of porn. But in that world, there is no one to mentor, coach, advise, and finance these guys. And so, sex tech deal flow, porn deal flow, for the investors brave enough to do that, oh my God, it's $1 trillion marketplace. Here's the second holistic opportunity. Berlin. You can be the global sex tech hub of the future because nobody else is. Colossal opportunity. Be the city that welcomes sex tech entrepreneurs. Be the city and the market that delivers sex tech investors, that builds and supports the infrastructure that we can all use to grow and scale our businesses. Be the sex tech hub of the world, and you will be, ultimately, the tech hub of the world. I want you to seriously consider that. Because Make Love Not Porn is a global platform. And one of the things we therefore want to do is that we want to help countries reclaim their national sexual identity. Because every country has one. National tradition, national heritage, national values, national stereotypes exist around sex as much as they do around any other form of behavior like cooking or eating. It's just we never talk about it. But anyone who's ever shagged their way around the world can testify. People make love differently based on the culture, society, country they come from, or rather they used to. Because porn is now homogenizing sex globally. And so we want to open up this dialogue at a national level. Because we're at a time where every country needs to examine its values, and every country needs to examine its national sexual values. We want to put the call out, make German love not porn, make Chinese love not porn, make Brazilian love not porn. We would like to instill a sense of national pride in how each country has real-world sex. And we wouldn't mind instilling a sense of national competitiveness. We'd love the Olympics of real-world sex and social sex playing out on Make Love Not Porn. So the thought I want to leave you with, guys, is every other big bet ever made in the history of tech pales against sex tech. And the irony is, get in on the ground floor, and the bets you need to make are very small. At Make Love Not Porn, 3.5 years old, we're looking to raise a round of $2 million. A number of my sex tech entrepreneur friends are looking for $200,000, $300,000 to help them scale their businesses. The sex tech fund and holding company of the future, I can start that with $10 million. So, given everything that I've said to you, here's what I want you to ask yourselves. Would you bet against everything you've just heard? Would you bet against sex tech? And would you bet against me? Thank you.
Wow. Whew. 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 Wow. Come on, one more round of applause, please. Absolutely breathtaking. Sadly, I'm pretty sure that no one actually has any words left in their mouth, so we don't have time for questions. But if you do have questions, I'm sure you can tweet and write to her or come up and give her a business card or ask for a business card. She's been super friendly the whole time she's been here, giving great advice to startups and tech people here. So if you want to get a hold of her, make German Love Not Porn and really get involved, then please write to her. One more round of applause, please. All right. So the fun doesn't stop there. Of course it doesn't. Has everyone got their TOA app? Has everyone downloaded it? That's a good memento even after the festival, even for all the satellite events. Please download the app and so you can check out all the other things that are going on and amazingly around here. Cool. So I have a couple of questions. Has anyone traveled before? Let's put your hand up if you've traveled before. Yeah. Anyone gone to a remote location and maybe used this website called Airbnb? Maybe, put your hand up, yeah. Has anyone hosted at Airbnb? Cool, so quite a large majority. You know, one of the funny things that I always find is that you only notice bad design. And when I've hosted anyone at Airbnb or traveled, it's really hard to notice what's going wrong or notice how good it is because it just works so seamlessly. Now, I have the absolute honor to introduce to you guys the person who is responsible for this amazing working app that has just been so natural to this generation of travel. So I would love to introduce the head of UX design. Actually, no, I just found out she is the director of UX design, which, you know, is pretty amazing. Her name is Katie Dill, all the way from the US. Give me a big round of applause to welcome her on stage.
Thank you so much. Well, hello, everybody. You guys having a good tech open air so far? It sounds good, sounds good. You guys just listened to a fantastic talk about sex. I mean, how bad can this be? It's pretty hard to follow that up, but I'm excited to be here with you today. I'm excited to talk with you guys about, if we get the slide going, anywhere? Bear with me. Hey, guys. There we go. Almost there. Can we get presenter mode? Don't look at the slides yet, guys. Don't want to ruin the surprise. Not password. Almost there. Yay, technology. No, don't edit master slides. No. Let's go to view presenter mode, please. I wish I had a joke. I don't. This is pretty funny on its own.
Just while we go through the technical difficulties, of course.
Okay.
I have a joke.
Oh, good. Bring
Yes.
it.
Where did the bird go when he was traveling?
The bird?
Yeah, to the Airbnb. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. Nice. Do you guys know why it's called Airbnb?
Why is it
The
called?
original name is actually Air Bed and Breakfast, because the founders created it using air beds and having people sleep over in their home. But of course, airbedandbreakfast.com is not fun to write and horrible on an email address.
So while these guys will give me a hand so we can keep talking, because actually I went to your office and we actually met in San Francisco, which was an absolute pleasure. But your office is quite new and quite amazing. Has anyone been to the San Fran office of Airbnb? Yeah, some people.
Nice.
Okay, cool, fantastic. Maybe you can tell us just a little bit about how that came about.
Yeah, it's a
and
special
what's so
place.
amazing about it.
Well, we're now in, I think, our 4th office since the founding of Airbnb about 8 years ago. And we've been growing rather rapidly. In the 2.5 years that I've been there, it's more than doubled. And the office space that we're in now is a large building in the Soma district of San Francisco. And we're slowly but surely taking over more floors in the space. And what's really special about it is that we're trying to connect a little bit better with our users. We actually make our conference rooms look like real listings on the site. So you can have a conference in Shanghai, and it's actually a replication of a dining room in Shanghai.
Yeah, it was amazing when I was there as well. And the entrance, you go through a boat. It sounds weird because it's in the middle of a building, but you really do. It's such a beautiful design. And I remember when I was there, it was just such a great way to show the globalization and spread of these people experiencing. But that's like for UX design, to build that empathy with your users is really, really important.
Yeah. You know, we are very lucky that 2 of our founders are designers. So there's definitely design in the lifeblood of Airbnb.
Yeah.
And you can see that when you visit the office, is that like even the signage is carefully considered in terms of the way, you know, somebody that was thinking about the design and the user experience would probably do it. So we're pretty fortunate.
Very nice, very nice.
Yes.
All right, how are we going, guys, up there? Getting there. All right.
We were so close.
We were so close. Started off so well with another joke? No. And how have you found Berlin? Have you stayed in an Airbnb in Berlin?
I am staying in an Airbnb in Berlin, and it is fantastic. Unfortunately, my stay in Berlin is far too short. I just arrived last night. Yeah, but what a place. The weather didn't work out so well so far, though, huh?
No. So that's okay. That's what we expect in Berlin. We kind of party and rave no matter what, so it's, you know, it's how we roll.
Yes.
How do you find... Oh, we're back on. There we go.
We're there.
Beautiful.
All right. Thank you guys for your patience. Really appreciate it. So we're going to talk about experience design. And before we dive into experience design and all the challenges in creating a great experience design, let's level set on what I believe, and I hope you can share the definition of what is great experience design. Because, frankly, there's a lot to it. Now, Virgin is actually an example of good experience design in an industry that is pretty well known for terrible experience design, flying, right? Never any good times. But Virgin has done a few things that I think are quite noteworthy and are exemplary of what is thoughtful experience design. Basically, they get that it's not just one moment. When you're doing a product or a service, it's very easy to consider the moment of consumption as the moment to get right. And it is. But as is the moment before, during, and after. And that's what Virgin understands. So from the very beginning, their advertising is putting out a message. It's delivering a promise. It's saying, we are edgy, refined, simplified. We're different than your average airline. And that message continues through to the digital platform when you're booking online. This isn't your average booking site. It looks completely different. It looks edgy, refined, and simplified, and very easy to use. The physical manifestation of it as well continues to carry that story forward and continues to fulfill that promise that they originally set through their advertising. Every little detail is coherent and orchestrated to come together into a larger whole, building on that story that it was originally started. The chairs, the fabric, the carpet are all adding to that same message about what this is all about, and they're delivering on that promise. I love this as an example, something that's usually considered as an afterthought at most airlines. Look at the terminology that they use. Drop $2 in the box, rock all flight long. That's a very special way of communicating to somebody that here are a pair of headphones for you. But they're doing that in a way to continue that overall feeling that they're trying to convey, the idea of being edgy, refined, and simplified. They're doing that so well that by the time you get on the flight, it's actually this crescendo of the whole experience because they've been building up this story that this is different. This is going to be an elevated experience. And so the lights, the smells, the sound are all communicating that one idea, and it's actually compounding your experience over time. The seats, they're just as uncomfortable and small as most planes, but you still feel this very different experience in sitting in them because of all of those details around it. The details of the interface, again, communicating in that orchestrated way. Even the safety video, very much edgy and refined. And of course, the smiles on the flight attendants' faces. Physical, digital, human, verbal, all of these details need to come together into an orchestrated whole to truly deliver the ideal user experience. Yes, of course, you need to get the experiences, the individual moments right, and they need to be useful, usable, and desirable. But it's really when all of those moments come together that it's going to be of its highest value. So each moment, when you first learn about the product, when you buy the product, when you eventually use the product, you get assistance, but maybe you need some help, all the way down to sharing it with friends. When these moments come together, when they actually build value on top of each other, it becomes this union of compounded value that's far more impactful than any one moment on its own. That's user experience. That's what Virgin does a pretty good job of delivering, where most airlines are falling short. Another example of this, if you're familiar with Disney, very big in the United States, of course, they own everything. TV, sporting events, physical parks, of course, lots of product. And the physical parks is really where you can feel this idea of experience design. They, of course, take you to another world when you visit it. Every little detail, again, is communicating this idea that you're someplace else, some fictionary, imaginary world where you're now a star in a new story. So when you're walking down Main Street or when you're on a ride, you're very much in another world. Everything all the way down to the food is communicating this very special experience. This is really nailing the details. Even trash cans that spit out bubbles, right? The littlest detail is communicating this is special, this is magic, this is another world. But what all of that amounts to at the end is an emotional feeling of a time spent someplace else, somewhat much transformative. But where they've really upped their game is in the last couple of years, this idea of the Magic Band, if you're familiar. It's an RFID band that you can hook up. You can make a profile and define what you like and who you are and attach your payment to it. And then when you go to the park, it turns that coherent journey that they have so well orchestrated into one personalized to you. So this is really the cat's pajamas of experience design, because it's not just about a coherent story, one story that fits all. Instead, it's a coherent story personalized to each individual. And so when you come into the park, they know it's you, they know if you've been there before, they know what characters you like, and they can help you have a better experience because of that. So you can tap into a ride. When you're at the restaurant, you sit down to eat, they can bring you the food because they already know what you ordered and know where you're sitting. When you're walking about the park, they can know it's your birthday and have a character wish you happy birthday. All of those moments, again, come down to a coherent journey that's personalized to you, which is very, very special. But of course, Disney has an advantage that most companies do not. They truly own all of those moments. You are in an isolated bubble when you're inside Disney. They control just about everything. And so for them to deliver a coherent story where each moment lines up makes pretty good sense. But for most companies, there are owners that are not your employees of those experiences. Most time, you're dealing with a partner, or perhaps even the users' friends and family are helping to deliver the experience. And for companies like Airbnb, sharing economy companies or gig economy companies, the person delivering the end user experience is not an employee. That more often than not, it's an average Joe, Jose, or Jiro. They are regular people that are helping to provide a service for those end customers. And what that means is that there is a whole lot less control. Now, there's something really awesome about that. I mean, that's one of the reasons why gig economies and sharing economy companies are doing so well and have great scale, and that they're actually great experiences for the people that use them, is because every time it's different. There's unique places all around the world. You come and you meet a new host and you get a new story. You hear all sorts of things that you never would have known. It is definitely not cookie cutter, and that's what's awesome about it. You come home and you're like, I stayed in this wonderful penthouse that had the most amazing view, or my host that I'm staying with right now, she makes stained glass. I'm so fascinated to hear about her stories and how the hell do you do that? And there's different stories happen because of the uniqueness, the diversity, the variety on the platform. It really is the most enhanced value add to the whole idea. And of course, it's what provides scale. The other companies like this, if you're familiar with Lyft, it's ride sharing. They're based in San Francisco. I use it pretty much exclusively when I'm getting a ride. And they, too, have regular people driving regular cars that give you a ride. And every single time I come away with a unique story. This one, it was on a Tuesday night. I'm coming home from work, and halfway into the ride, he turns on strobe lights and techno music. I mean, what a better way of getting home from work than a regular car ride? And that story, and many others that I've had just by riding in Lyft, is because of the unique individuals that are involved. But so this uniqueness, while very, very special and makes it all the more valuable and more authentic and unique, is also ripe for disaster, right? You don't have direct control over the end user's experience like Disney does. You are trusting in people all around the world to deliver a great user experience. And when things are coming misaligned, that results in a essentially jangled, discombobulated user experience. It doesn't feel as good when something goes wrong. This is something that we have to think about all the time at Airbnb. As he mentioned, I'm a director of user experience, and so me and my team are constantly thinking about how can we help to improve this. Our work generally lands in pixels. So we're working on the app and the website. But these pixels are all in service of an offline experience between real people. And so our job is to try to create the system and the foundation to enable an experience that will be high quality every time, despite that every time it's different. It's not easy. We certainly haven't figured it out completely. But what I'd love to share with you are tips on how do you bring order to that chaos. Because while you might not be in a sharing economy company, guaranteed, whatever company you do work for, the end user experience is not all your own. You are working within an ecosystem that's helping to deliver that end-to-end user experience. And it's best to think about all the different ways that you can provide some guardrails, provide some support, and facilitate something to improve that user experience that the ecosystem is delivering. So I'll give you 5 tips on how to do that. So the first, and maybe the most important, is to zoom out. Have a perspective on what you're actually trying to deliver. Again, the user experience is not one moment. It's multiple moments that come together before, during, and after. A good example of this is the symphony. That's what a complicated user experience is. There's lots of players pulling it together and trying to deliver something really magical. If you don't want to just be the lone violinist delivering one simple solo, but instead deliver a symphony in concert, you really need to consider how to bring a large group of people within your company and your ecosystem together. The way we do that at Airbnb is through a storyboard. A storyboard is our sheet music, essentially, for delivering that end user experience. A storyboard puts in perspective all of the moments of the journey in a visual form. And so it's just the archetypal moments. It's not every little nuance, but it's important that you truly visualize what are the things that can happen during somebody's journey. What are the things that they're doing and encountering and using and holding and seeing. We also look at the host side of things. And this helps us understand, where are we doing a good job? Where are we actually putting forth a product that's going to help people? And where are we not? Where are we dropping the ball? And of course, in the host and guest scenario, where are they helping each other versus where are we owning that moment? And looking at these two things together gives us a great perspective on where we need to put more effort. And so first and foremost, make it visual. Just a diagram, boxes and arrows are not going to communicate the feelings and the emotions and the challenges of the context of your user. Making it visual like a comic strip does. But don't just make it visual, make it visible. For us, putting it on the wall where everybody can see it is imperative. Because again, just like the symphony, it's not just one person playing that tune, it's a whole group of folks. It's your entire company. Finance, HR, marketing, product, they're all involved in delivering that end user experience either directly or indirectly, as is your outside ecosystem. So putting it up where the world can see it is important. Now, when you have that journey, you have an opportunity to look ahead. You get to know where can the shit hit the fan and how do we solve for it prior. And that's because the people that experience your product and your service are doing so over time, and they have a memory. So utilize that fact and start solving problems before they happen. And so by looking at the journey, we can think about where do the problems exist. And so this is a moment where we are ripe for bad experiences. It's the moment you arrive at a listing and you have this expectation of what you're going to see. And you come to the door and you're all ready and you knock on it and you're thinking, I'm going to have Wi-Fi, I'm going to have a king bed, and it's going to be great and it's going to be in the best neighborhood ever. And then if any one of those things go wrong, then your experience is already taken a notch down, and the overall experience is going to be that much less valuable. So your happiness is impacted by what you experience. And what we've realized is while we can't go to every single listing around the world and make sure that they have Wi-Fi and a king bed, but what we can absolutely do is help to set expectations about what that place does have, so that when you get there, your reality is in line with your expectations, and therefore your happiness is at its best. Because if your expectations are higher than the actual reality, it doesn't end well. And so we want to make sure that you know if there's going to be Wi-Fi or what size beds. And how we do that is by thinking about that journey and getting ahead of it. So getting ahead of it means putting together a listing page that communicates everything we possibly can about that place through large imagery and video and reviews and details about that space. So when you get there, it is exactly what you were expecting. Now, obviously, all of this is a work in progress, but these are the tools with the technology of mobile apps and websites that we can do to help our hosts do that. And we're constantly looking at ways to better automate the knowledge process of learning about that listing. Lyft, again, the car sharing or ride sharing, also does something like this, which I think is pretty clever. So their big thing is making sure you have a comfortable ride. Now, they're relying on a regular person to help do that, right? So how they help this is by asking you when you sign up what kind of music you like. So that way when you get in the car, your driver knows what kind of music you like. They could choose to put it on. They're not forcing it. But if they do, that might help to provide a better experience for you riding in the car. I think this is a pretty clever way of, again, using the technology to help facilitate an offline person-to-person interaction. Now, the digital platform is key here. None of this would work without that. That's really what facilitates that continuous experience, helps us get ahead of problems, helps communicate between two different people around the world, and provides some sort of guardrails around it. That platform really does is the stage of the play that will occur. And so using your platform as guardrails is important. This is an example of not doing that. This is MySpace. If you guys remember, before Facebook, there was MySpace, social platform. So MySpace was all the rage for a little while, and it was pretty fun. You could design your own profile page any way you want. You could use every single color in the rainbow, and you could just go buck wild with this thing. Well, that was fun for a little while, but guess what? Turns out this is really not easy to read. This is not really easy to understand the content actually there. And in a social platform, the content is the king. Usually the content is the king, but definitely here. And when you can't read it, there's no point to it. And it doesn't work as well. And so what they're doing here, they're failing to do, is to provide the guardrails to allow that content to sit and actually communicate well. Facebook did a great job. Facebook, it's actually a very clean, very standard, very basic interface, but that means the content now takes center stage. The pictures, the stories you tell, that's what's attracting the attention, not the distracting background in every rainbow color possible. And so this is why they were able to be so much more successful. I want to give some examples of some sharing economy companies and how they've also used this theme. Some of them you may know of. Oops. Oh, I think that's because of our slide issue. So that was an animation. What you would see underneath those white boxes, these are 4 different sharing economy companies. The first one, Paw Shake, is actually so you can get a dog babysitter. And this company has a platform very similar to Airbnb where you can connect with a dog babysitter. And the platform, just like Etsy, which is a marketplace, TaskRabbit, a marketplace for services, and then Drivey, a marketplace for car rides, they all have basically a container that helps that content sit in it without distracting too much, without getting in the way, but providing enough guardrails and continuity to bring a little bit of calm to the overall experience and provide more continuous communication. So the next tip, when you're thinking about that and thinking about the guardrails that you're setting up to help to bring some calm and to the chaos of the user experience, is making sure not to overstep. Don't get in the way of the community that's helping to provide your experience. Because what you might do then is A, set wrong expectations, or B, take away some of the greatest value of the experience that's being provided by your more diverse community. So keep it real. Don't lie to the fact that it's unique. Remember that driver that I talked about that played the music? Imagine he was wearing a uniform. That would have given me a totally different expectation of the experience. I would have probably thought he was overstepping by playing music. But because he wasn't wearing a uniform, he was wearing his own street clothes, I had a better understanding of the expectation, that this is a unique individual and this is going to be a unique experience. Again, the white boxes, awesome. So these are a few more examples, and what I would have shown you here in these examples is that you'll see that in all of these platforms, they're showing pictures of the people and the places and the real things that are involved. They're talking about reviews. They describe the people. They have profiles that can say, I make stained glass, or I love dogs and I've been walking dogs for 30 years. All of these things help to keep it real and help you as the end user better understand what you're getting. And they start to help you build expectations and build trust between the other people that you might encounter on the platform. This is definitely a huge element of the success of any one of these platforms. What we do at Airbnb in the same vein is we try to encourage messaging between the guest and the host before they meet. We know if they message each other beforehand that they're both going to have a better experience than if they don't. Because this is an opportunity for them to get to know each other a little bit, better understand, set expectations, and perhaps uncover some of the similarities that they might have, like somebody that's going to be able to show you around town or get to know the place a little bit better. And that's the biggest part of it, is knowing that the community is the key and opening up to that community and helping your community be a part of the experience, knowing and valuing the fact that they are the ones that are helping to deliver it, means that you're going to put a little bit more attention to it. So often, marketplace companies aren't thinking about the other side of the coin. We at Airbnb have to remind ourselves of that all the time, that it's not just about the guests and it's not just about the host, but it's about both. And our hosts are certainly the ones that are really delivering that experience. And so we have to consider it as the fact that they're partners. And you should be considering in your own product company as well that your ecosystem that's helping to provide the experience are partners. And how can you help them be more successful? It's kind of the same way you might think about your own team at your company, is that how do you help each other be successful? It's through encouragement and information. And you're trying to drive people to be that successful on their own. And so one of the ways we've been trying to do this over the last couple of years at Airbnb is we have a host event. This was last year in Paris, and we had 5,000 hosts come to Paris where we did a couple of days of workshops and presentations, and we talked to them face to face. And it was like a fire hose to the face of feedback to us on the design team on how we can do things better. And that's exactly what we need. We need to know how to make things better for them. If our product is better for them, it'll be better for the end users as well. Another way that we've been working on that is a dashboard called the host dashboard. And so this communicates to a host how they're doing. Are they getting top marks for cleanliness? Are they getting top marks for having an accurate listing? Remember, to set expectations. And this information for them helps them make better decisions. We could just set their price for them, but that wouldn't be a learning opportunity for them, and it certainly wouldn't be an open platform. And so instead, we provide them the information about what pricing is working in their neighborhood and help them better understand demand at that time of year so that they can make the right choice and be a better business person. This is just a more example of that. Another example outside of Airbnb is Eventbrite. So they do event invitations. And they have, of course, the person that's going to the party as a customer, but their other customer, the other side of the marketplace, are the people that actually put on events. So similarly, the way we think about hosts, they're thinking about the event coordinators. And so they provide a dashboard for those coordinators, telling them how they can, better think about what's working and what's not working, are there attendees, opening the emails, etc. And what's really special about this page here is that this message, we want your feedback. It is an open, two-way conversation between them and their partners so that they can, again, make the tools better for them so that they can make the tools better for their end user experience. And a lot of these examples, that are about a marketplace are talking about the difficulty in bringing a coherent user experience together. But the important point is that while, yes, it is an extreme case when we're talking about a community-based service like Airbnb, every single company has this issue. We don't own all the moments of the user experience, but we can't neglect them just because we don't own them. Instead, we must think about the ways that we can influence the people that are participating in delivering that experience to make sure that every time, although it's different, every time it's high quality and it's unified, despite the differences. So the ways you think about that is thinking about zooming out and understanding the end goal. Try to understand how you can step ahead of problems before they start by utilizing that journey. And know that your platform, your digital platform, or whatever platform you may be providing, the thing you own the most control of is the stage that is all going to play on. Make sure the stage is set to provide for that best experience and provides the guardrails to do so. Whoops. And then keep it real. Don't overstep. Don't overshadow the fact that you don't own it all, because you'll just screw up expectations and potentially risk bringing some of that authenticity to it. And then, of course, lastly, make sure that you're participating in the community and making sure that your community feels supported so that they can do a great job delivering that end user experience. And I truly believe by doing these types of things, we can get a little closer to a company like Disney or Virgin that owns more of the experience and still make it a really great one for everyone every time. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I think we have time for just one question. Who is desperately dying to ask the question? Okay, you got to run up here, though. Run for it. She's really running, everybody. I said run. I said run. All right, go for it. Quick, here. Just here's fun.
Hi, firstly, really enjoyed it. I think it was packed with really great nuggets of content, so thank you for that. Real life experience. As I'm here, my flat is being rented on Air Sorted in London. I'm using a third-party agency to manage all this stuff. Something went massively wrong. They are messaging the guest on my behalf. And I'm just wondering what's Airbnb's stance on third-party agencies like that. Should we be using them as hosts? And perhaps is that something that you would consider doing yourselves for those hosts who are busy and have no opportunity to welcome guests, etc.? Thank you.
That is a great question. I think that gets to the heart of the idea that there is a large ecosystem at play in delivering the experience. So a third-party provider that's helping to deliver that experience beyond the host is definitely something we think about and we acknowledge, and I think sometimes it actually helps to provide a better experience. If the hosts themselves can't be there, we're glad that somebody is. But absolutely, what we strive to do is provide the tools to help you deliver a great user experience and perhaps not need a third party. However, third parties, we're happy that they're involved. One day, perhaps we might be offering more services there. We're constantly looking at new things. But seeing what's happening now with third parties is a great research experience for us. It lets us see where it's working and where it's not before we make a decision to go into that space ourselves.
Cool. Wow, that was a great question. I was also wondering the same thing. But anyway, a big round of applause for Katie.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I have a little secret. I'm a service designer and I always get confused what the difference between service design and UX design is, and it's a big debate that rages in the community. And I think that was just a brilliant summary of what real user experience is. And for me, it was just wow, that was good. Great talks this afternoon. I'm really, really super excited, and I hope you guys are too. Okay, now I have another little secret, which has nothing to do with sex or UX design. But when I was a little kid, I always thought that the best movie ever was Star Wars. Who loves Star Wars? Who loves Star Trek? And those people, can you just... No, I'm joking. Yeah, so I was a massive fan of Star Wars, and I always wanted to go and travel amongst the stars. So the next talk, they are literally making that happen. They are literally making all of these little guys me as a little child, their dreams come true. And these guys are hands-on. Hang on, wait, I got to figure out the numbers because it's pretty impressive. Hands-on with a team of 75 part-time scientists and 12 employees. So a very small team. They are literally hands-on, taking us, the human race, back to the moon, which is amazing. Who's excited by this? Woo! Yes. So, unfortunately, Robin Boomer is sick. But to tell us about their story and how they're taking us to the moon since 2008 and how they're participating in the Google Lunar X Prize along with Elon Musk and all those kind of guys is Carsten Becker. Welcome on stage with a big round of applause.
Hi, everyone. We are not literally working on Star Wars, so we come in peace and we want to do science on the moon. And I want to talk about our mission that we are currently planning. And as you can see, there is something called Next Stop Apollo 17. So we want to go back to the moon, and we don't just want to go anywhere, but we want to go to Apollo 17. But the first important question to ask is, why are we doing this? And this guy is part of the answer. You probably know him, it's Charles Lindbergh. And there is something called the Lindbergh boom. And so the thing is that in the beginning it was thought to be impossible to fly alone over the Atlantic. And so at one point a guy named Ortigue, who was a hotel millionaire at that time, he created a prize to incentivize people to fly over the Atlantic. And there are many people aside from Charles Lindbergh that tried it, but Charles Lindbergh was the guy that actually survived it. And once he survived, this sounds very creepy, once he succeeded in flying over the Atlantic Ocean, people started to realize that flying has a purpose. It can be used for traveling. And so this created the Lindbergh boom, which created the network of airplanes that you see today. So this was really the birth hour of public aviation. And there is something a little similar. It's called the Google Lunar X Prize. And it was created by the two founders of Google. And they took some of their spare change that they had, about $30 million, and put it into the Google Lunar X Prize. And the goal is quite simple. So all you have to do is send a rover to the moon, or some spacecraft to the moon, drive at least 500 meters, and send back HD video while doing so. And this is all you have to do to get the prize money, the $30 million. And we are one of the groups that is participating in it. And actually, we are the only German team that is still in the competition. We are Berlin-based, actually. So if you want to come and visit us, if you leave Berlin to the east and you're in Brandenburg, then you go back 5 meters and we're on the left-hand side. And so we have been working on this since about 2008. So that's quite a while. And it was Robert Böhme who had the idea to found this team. So the story goes that he heard about it and he was like, why should I do this? And then he heard that this is about making private space exploration happen. And he thought, this sounds like a really good idea. And he needed some money for the registration, and by chance, some guy pulled into his car, and then he got some insurance money, and so he was able to enter the competition. And a few barbecues later, it was decided that this is a really good idea to take part. And so we have been working on this for quite a while now. In the beginning, as our names suggest, as part-time scientists. So we all had our day jobs. I was a PhD at a university. Robert was working in IT administration. Some are for software developers, the other guy was working in medicine. But we set our goal to really do this thing. And yeah, this is what we did. And the plan is, well, November 27 is a bit optimistic. But we will launch by the end of the next year, or by the beginning of 2018, from not quite Berlin, but from probably Vandenberg. It's or Cape Town, Cape Canaveral, sorry. So all we need to do after we launched, with you buy a rocket and then you're getting into Earth orbit, and then you just cross the almost 400,000 kilometers, and this will take about 5 days, and then you arrive on the moon. Then you just soft land, you disembark 2 rovers. So we are sending 2 rovers, and then we collect the money from Google. I mean, this sounds like an absolutely failure-proof plan, right? There couldn't be anything probably going wrong. So in the beginning, we started with developing the rovers because they are simple. You can drive around in your office, and eventually we also started to develop our spacecraft. And this is our latest spacecraft. This is really new. We just finished developing it, and we are currently in the process of building it. So this is the first commercial spacecraft that is going to leave the Earth's orbit. And it's really cool. The goal is to bring about 100 kilograms of payload to the moon, of which 2 times 40 are the rovers, and we will also bring some additional payloads with us. And it's designed in such a way that we can take the cheap rockets. So, and by cheap I mean like 20 to 30 million. There are more expensive ones, but those are the ones that are easily available for commercial entities. So this spacecraft, by the way, there's a reason why Robert Wimmer also couldn't attend. There is a press event going on tonight, and if you're a proper, excellent journalist, feel free to talk to me after the presentation. But the question is, why do we want to go to Apollo 17? We were not having a map of the moon and throwing a random dart at it. It was by choice. There is, the romantic part of it, and that is that, this was the last place where man was setting foot on the moon, and we are continuing the story for humanity. This is very romantic, but there's also a very pragmatic reason for it, and a research reason for it. The pragmatic reason is that it's a very well-documented landing site. So we know that it's hard to mess up the landing because it's a very, very flat area, very little big stones, very little craters. Also, Apollo 17 was, unfortunately, the first mission where they actually sent a scientist. So the former missions were flown by Air Force hotshots, and they were not the brightest scientists. In Taurus Littrow Valley, they had the idea that maybe sending a geologist to the moon would be a good idea. And so they sent it to a geologically very interesting landing site, and this is one of the reasons why we want to go there. The other one is, and this is how it looks today. We want to see how it looks today, because there are some conspiracy theorists, and we will take pictures of it, and then they will be like, oh, no, you're bought by the NSA, so this is nice for that we know it's up there. The conspiracy theorists will probably not believe us, but we want to see how this stuff did on the moon for over 40 years. And in order to do that, we built a rover, and we call it the Audi Luna Quattro, because we have been working on this mission in our part-time for quite a while, And then there was an interims competition where we have won $750,000. And with that, we created our headquarters and office in Berlin. And then something really interesting happened. Audi supports our mission. So they are helping us to build the most awesome rover that you could imagine. So we are working with them technology-wise. They're helping us financially. And they helped us to reduce the weight of the rover by 10 kilograms, and this mostly by using 3D printed aluminum, which is pretty neat. And they also have very, very nice test facilities, and well, yeah. And also, the rover is now very aerodynamic, which is totally irrelevant for the moon, but it looks very sleek. Also, I'm very proud to announce that this is the slowest rover, the slowest Audi you can buy. But it's, most Audis are made for this world, and this is made for an entirely different world, so the comparison is not fair. But it's more expensive than some of the most expensive cars that Audi has. But it's really just not fun to drive at 3.6 kilometers per hour. It's like, But when we go to the moon, we want to do science, and one of the science experiments that we designed is actually the camera. So as you saw, we have 3 cameras in the head, and the outer ones are color images. So they make color images in 3D stereoscopic for driving around. And the middle one is a telelens, which has a black and white sensor. And in front of the sensor is a filter wheel. And this filter wheel allows us to look at different wavelengths. So we can do some material composition analysis by just looking at stones or materials. And what interesting materials are on the moon? Well, there is for one, there is the lunar rover, that is the vehicle that the astronauts were driving. And stories are that the key is still plugged in. So if you would jump in, it would still be there, and you could possibly drive it. We're not going to try that. We have your own car. But for future reference, if you happen to be on the moon, remember, go there. The cool thing about the lunar rover vehicles is that they are made from the most unspacey materials that you could imagine. So they are made from aluminum, which is really space-grade stuff, but they are also made from nylon and all the junk they had laying around. For example, the seats are actually some engineers' backyard seats that they had, and they were very lightweight, and so they're like, okay, and they put it there. And it would be very interesting to drive up to this rover and see how it did, because on the moon you don't have any atmosphere, so there is no wind going on. Everything stays the same as it was. And so there is one theory is that this looks really the same, but it could also be bombarded by micrometeorites, and it could be just, a little something. But we also want to we are not just taking our rovers to the moon and do science with them, we're also inviting others to bring science along with us to the moon. And one of the things we want to do is we want to grow a plant on the moon. So this is something that we are doing with NASA Ames, for example. It's a very small experiment. It's about CubeSat size, so it's 10 by 10 by 10. And there are some seeds in there. And once we arrive on the moon, they will be watered, and then they will grow, or maybe not. So this is the fun part about science, is that how that grants usually grow on Earth. So at 1 g, it works. And then you have, so at 1 times, gravitational, it works. And if you are growing seeds on the ISS, for example, where you have 0 g, things start to get a little strange. And you don't have any data point in between. So it could be like, this works, fucked up until 0 g, or it could be, this works, and then it, at 1/6 gravity, it still works. And so we want to see how that is really happening. And this is really interesting for one thing. So the ESA, the European Space Agency, actually wants to build a village on the moon, and they call it the Moon Village. They are not very creative. And we want to support them. And one of the things that all the science we do is about creating this vision. So we want to be able to provide the infrastructure for building the Moon Village, and be it with experiments growing plants on the moon, or bringing some other experiments that analyzing the materials, like for water detection and stuff like this. One of the other things we want to do is we want to preserve the human knowledge, and we want to make a backup copy on the moon, so a dictatorship backup copy of the Wikipedia on the moon, so that if aliens land on the moon and they find this disk, they can read it and be like, this is how they messed up the Earth. And we want to store it on a crystal that's like this. And that's about our mission to the moon. I could talk for quite a bit longer, to be honest. But I guess some questions would be nice, wouldn't it?
We have approximately time for one, maybe two questions, but thank you. Let's do this Q&A.
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation. One question. I just read, as many, the book on Elon Musk and the space company he has. One of his statements was that nowadays a lot of the technology being used in, let's say, almost households is good enough to use in space technology, and they are reducing the price of space technology by a factor 5, factor 10. You've presented stuff which looks like really neat, awesome, great, but the question is it also, are these things doing, Musk might say these things are doing too much, they're too nice, you just need to do what's necessary, low cost, competitive, and how do you feel about this?
Yeah, so one of the things, the factor of 10 is something that I found out is really very common. So one of the things we are cutting costs on our end is really by using not household electronics, but some selected components that are used in automotive parts, for example. And yeah, so essentially we are doing that. We are not using space-grade stuff for at least most of the stuff that we have. So the question is what factor of cost we are cutting. So it's really tough to answer, but our mission will be, about if you would need to pay for all of that, would be about 60 to 70 millions. And the last mission that Airbus was talking about, which was really progressive, was about 680 millions. So a factor of 10 as well.
Wow, thank you. Yeah, so can I get a postcard when you're on the moon? Can we organize that? Can I give you my address or something? No? Okay, anyway. Nah, we'll see how it goes. All right, thank you. Big round of applause. Yeah. That was pretty amazing. I think maybe they have to put a little capsule so I can stay, but that's fine. We can organize the details later. Okay, so next up we have a big panel discussion about doing social change and good for the world, which was just one point of the 5 points of the whole, Cindy Gallup's talk. But it's really, really important. I think what I'm really, really proud of in Berlin is just how much Berliners and the tech scene in Berlin care about what they do. And I think that's the one defining point that makes us stay, is that we really, really love doing good. We don't really care. Money is nice. Money helps us live. But the thing about Berlin is you can be poor and sexy, but it's poor and sexy and do something good. Do you guys agree with me? Yeah, cool. Fantastic. We're just waiting for a couple of minutes just for some people to arrive. But until then, we're just going to have a little bit of a break, and I'll give you guys a little bit of chance to stand up, shake yourself off, and if you need, that was some great shaking over there, and stand up, shake off, and just have a little talk amongst yourselves. I'll be back in about 3 minutes. Thanks, guys.
Tuo polkupyörä laulaa, jos voisi. Se mulle elämästään kertoisi. Kuinka elämän ylä- ja alamäet on sillä ajettu. Ja aina välillä jarrutettu. polkupyörä laulaa jos voisi. Tuo polkupyörä laulaa jos voisi.
Hi guys, welcome back. So we're about to start the next round, the panel discussion about one of the amazing opportunities that we had to have actually a discussion about, which is the refugee crisis. This is very dear to everyone here in Berlin and Germany, and also through a massive European movement. So I would love you guys in 2 minutes to join with me and put your hands together for this next amazing talk. And now I have a friend here who's going to take a photo.
Sorry, I'm making a 360 right now.
She's making a 60. Wave, smile. Yay.
Everybody, come on.
Yay. This is cool, no? Quite literally tech open air.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
I look stupid.
Yes, that's fine. Well, I'm glad that it's you that's embarrassing yourself as well as me.
Thanks for doing
All right,
that.
cool.
Thanks.
Has everyone had a good time so far? Yes? Do we love Berlin? Do we love air? No, I'm joking. All right. Just 2 seconds. So I'd love to also introduce, while I'm at it, Mike, the moderator. He's working for a small magazine called TechCrunch. I don't know if anyone knows it, but he'll be hosting the discussion. And yesterday he was a great deal of fun hosting the hardware pitch. And I'm sure this is going to be very, very riveting to all of you guys here. Does anyone have a joke? Should I tell another joke? No? Okay, no, all right. You got a joke? Yes, I always thought someone would do this.
All right, it's good for this. So everyone knows the Tesla, the car, the Tesla? Yeah. So what do you call a stolen Tesla? An Edison.
Yeah, and on that bombshell, I'm going to go over here. All right. Welcome, everyone. Big round of applause. Let's make some good.
Hello, everyone. Oh, gosh, there's a lot of you, isn't there? Marvelous. Come on in. Come on in. There's some seats, cardboard boxes for you to sit on down here. My name is Mike Butcher. My day job is a journalist with TechCrunch, a website about technology, startups, and venture capital. You may have heard of it. And during my increasingly short amount of spare time, I have started a thing called Tech4Gs. Has anyone heard of Tech4Gs? Yeah, cool. As a way of bringing together the technology community and refugee issues, both NGOs and refugees themselves. We now have 27 global chapters. We're launching a platform called Base4Gs, kind of like Crunchbase for refugee technology. Our panel today is going to be talking about some of the solutions that people are coming up with, some of the approaches. I'm not sure if we have time for Q&A. It might be difficult, but we can try a little bit of Q&A. And that's what we're going to do. So without any further ado, we're going to allow the panel to introduce themselves and what they're working on. OK? Cool. So might as well start from here. Paula,
yes.
Over to you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Paula Schwartz. I'm half Greek and half German, and I didn't expect to be here at all because 1 year ago I invited some friends of mine, investors, entrepreneurs, scientists, on a boat together at the border between Greece and Turkey, and we decided to focus on mass migration as a topic that we wanted to basically build solutions for with the power of technology. So a lot of entrepreneurs came, and many of them were engineers. So we built the first solutions. One of them was an info platform for refugees who arrive from Turkey to Greece that scaled to around 800,000 users today. Then we built a delivery service for first aid goods that also became an NGO. And so the startup boat, which is my project, turned into a mobile think tank for solutions to the refugee crisis. And today we've been running a boat a month also in Germany. But we're going back to Greece, and we're trying to bring more artists, investors, entrepreneurs together to the ecosystem to actually create solutions not only for the refugee crisis, but also for economically very difficult situation at the moment, mainly in the southern part of Europe. So that's what the Startup Boat is all about.
And can anyone join the Startup Boat, or how does it work?
Yes, so you can send an email to community@startupboat.eu if you want to actually come to the island and visit us there, because currently we're building a lot of stuff. It's mainly tourists who decided to stay, and many of them just love the island so much, and there's just many things you can do in the tourism sector, in the agricultural sector, when it comes to smart farming, for example. Small and medium-sized business owners, they all want to start doing stuff, but they don't really know how, and you guys would be such a great impulse to actually get your hands dirty.
Okay, amazing, cool. Let's go down the line then. Everyone, have a go.
My name is Sebastian Stricker. I'm part of the team that built an app called Share the Meal. It's an app to fight child hunger. Think of Thank you. I'm not sure, do you know the app? Or,
Just sounds awesome.
But thank you very much. So what is the idea? Think of the situation that you're sitting at breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and most of us have a smartphone, and some of us then sometimes read our emails or the news on that smartphone. What we try to build is a button on your smartphone, and if you press that button, you can share your meal with a child that doesn't have anything to eat. So practically speaking, you press that button, $50 go to the United Nations World Food Programme, and with these 50 cents, that's the total cost to feed one child for one day. In the app, we show you where the children are, we show you what the progress is towards ending hunger, and we try to work with all these functionalities that smartphones have to offer, as opposed to the traditional fundraising and advocacy mechanisms. It's been an awesome ride. It's about 1 year old. We've been very fortunate. And one of the things that we were able to do is we were able to feed the 20,000 children in the Sotari refugee camp, one of the biggest refugee camps in the world, with school meals for an entire year. Right now we're distributing meals in the Bekaa Valley, in the refugee camps there in Lebanon.
I have a quick question before we move on. How is it funded?
So the question is how is it funded? There are two funding mechanisms. The one is you as an app user. Obviously, you can provide that money, and that money goes directly to the United Nations World Food Programme. But then there's another bucket, and that bucket we need to operate the Share the Meal app. For the first fundraising round as a non-profit, which was covered by an angel investor from the Valley, from the Silicon Valley, Ergo Insurance as a company, and a couple of other smaller business angels in Germany. The second funding round came from the United Nations World Food Programme, and since then we are part of the United Nations World Food Programme, which happened about a year ago.
Right, great. So moving on, next up.
Yep. Hi, my name is Markus. I'm one of 3 founders and the managing director of Chiron, which is a blended learning platform for refugees. So what we do at Chiron is we provide refugees with access to higher education because of, as you probably know, there's several reasons why refugees can't access universities anymore. It mostly has to do with the legal status, the documentation. People just lack the language skills in the beginning. And of course, universities have high capacity limits and also tuition fees often. So what we did is basically we took the big tech trend in higher education of the last 8 years, so-called MOOCs, massive open online courses, that were already freely accessible to everyone in the world. And we navigate through these courses kind of like Uber or Airbnb, also for education. It's true that the biggest provider of education, higher education, might not need an own campus, own teaching staff. So there's already great solutions out there for these courses. And we bundle them into modules, match these modules with existing curricula of universities, and kind of create an API between our system, which provides orientation in the first 1 or 2 years in a study track for refugees, and the conventional universities where our students then can transfer to in the second or the third year. And of course, it's not just about the platform itself, it's also a lot about connecting technology with stuff that happens in the real world, because learning, especially universities, it's also about fun, it's about a community, it's the people that you get to know, the ideas that you share. So we really try to rethink every part of university and establish mobile study hubs, for example, or online mentoring systems that guide our students through their course of study and hopefully, in the end, helps them to live up to their potential again.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sajida. I'm from Syria. I'm 20 years old. And I'm here in Germany since 8 months now. And I'm studying with Chiron University or Chiron Open Higher Education. an mechanical engineering track, and I hopefully will graduate with Karen. Thank you.
Can I ask you, what was it like using Chiron to study?
Again?
What was it like to use the Chiron platform to study?
Well, yeah, it's, I would say it's difficult to keep on track of studying online for the first, but it's still a big chance. Like, it's saving of time. I would have spent more than a year learning German, so I thought this is like the short way to get to higher education and be on the track again.
Right, yeah, put you back on the road to getting back into education.
Yeah, of course. I already lost 1 year in Turkey. I graduated high school from Syria and signed up also for university, but I couldn't continue. So we moved out, and 1 year in Turkey or less. So now here I'm kind of back.
Are you able to share a little bit about your story, about how you got here?
Actually, I lived in South Damascus. It was, let's say, stable, the situation there. It wasn't so dangerous comparing to other places. But at some point, it got really not safe. So we moved to the central Damascus, and we stayed there for 1 month. And I was just starting with my university in Damascus. So we thought, like, it's the time to go out because, like, we're not gonna go back home easy, and we can't, like, just keep moving from place to place in Syria. So we moved to Turkey. We stayed there 8 months. Actually, we didn't plan to stay in Turkey. We were planning to continue to Germany, but we couldn't make it. So we stayed in Turkey for 8 months, working, me and my sisters and mom. And after that, we managed ourselves to get with the death boats to Greece. It took like 5 days 6 days from Turkey to Germany. We were passing from Greece, Serbia, Macedonia, Croatia, Austria, and then here. It was a bit difficult, but we still feel blessed that we could make it.
Well, certainly, I think we feel blessed that you're here.
Thank you.
Yeah. Paula, I think we've all, certainly those of us in work in technology, have been trying to engage with this issue. And, you know, time and again, people talk about solutions and apps and things like that. Realistically, what are the really most effective solutions that you've seen? Obviously, Share the Meal is an incredible success story. You know, does it stop there? Where else can we go with this? What are the kinds of things that you've seen? I mean, your Mahaka was a pretty amazing project as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's, you know this, with TechFugees, I mean, you guys also have a very large database. We work with some guys that are called Prosper, who have collected around 2,500 initiatives around the refugee crisis worldwide. So there's actually a wonderful person called Natasha, who's a single mom sitting at home, and she's constantly monitoring what is happening because she has all the right networks. And this is how we gather the data. So we use a lot of Google Maps also to see who's pinning down new projects. And one very significant solution that we've seen is Disaster Tech Lab, because Wi-Fi on the islands is a very big topic, also in the refugee camps. And so we didn't really know how one should proceed with that. And then there were two amazing British guys who, went to Greece, went to Lesbos, I think it started, on the ground, and just started putting up Wi-Fi everywhere. And then everyone was like, who are these disaster tech people, tech lab people? And
Evert Bopp.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And no one really knew about it. And then it just grew everywhere in different refugee camps around Greece, at least. And now they also have an onboarding mechanism for engineers who decide to join the team. And then another solution that I find highly interesting is Chiron, obviously, because these guys have been growing like crazy. And they're really bringing education to different places where help is needed and where hope is needed. Then there's Moni, which is a prepaid credit card that allows people to actually get a loan if they want to start their own businesses, and they've been growing out of the north of Europe. And then there's a very cool platform that's called Funzi, where you have...
that's education.
That's education, but it's not education like in current sense, but more when it comes to job market integration, basic language skills. So it enables people to really integrate quickly into society, and using gaming as a mechanism to actually engage also the newcomers community, that's been extremely effective.
Awesome. With Share the Meal, when you came up with it, what was the reaction from the official organizations, the NGOs, to the idea? How open are they to working with technology innovators?
Well, I think there is a lot of interest here. At the same time, there are a lot of initiatives. And I think it's tough. It's sometimes tough to identify those that have potential and those where the attention is due. And hence, I think both these parties, the initiatives that are out there, and including the tech initiatives, but also the organizations, they somehow need to find each other. Just like any other startup, I assume as well.
Do you think that, certainly in my experience, is that a lot of the NGOs, they only have like maybe one or two people who are able to engage on an innovation side or with the tech community. How do we solve that problem, do you think?
Boats. Bring them on a boat together.
Put them on your boat?
Yeah, no, as private people and not in the name of their initiative, because otherwise you have people from the UN saying, I'm sorry, I can't make that statement, or someone from a bank saying, we can't finance that. But what if you have the guy, sitting in his bathing suit next to someone drinking an ouzo, and they just have a normal conversation as two people, and then they bond.
But they're not going to officially back that trip, are they? It looks like, nobody's going to sign off that expense.
But, you take the friendships home with you, and it's relationships that you build, and this is what we need, is to build relationships between
Do you think that's
people.
the answer, to kind of go under the radar?
Well, I think, unfortunately, there's no one-size-fits-all response to that. I would definitely agree that networks, obviously, and relationships are immensely important. So whatever opportunity you have, I think as a startup or as a two-person team, one almost needs to somehow try to realize. In our case, we were extremely fortunate. I'm not sure whether Share the Meal would have been as successful as it is right now if I hadn't previously worked with the United Nations. So I certainly had a very unfair advantage that many other initiatives don't have.
What about Chiron? How has Chiron's reception been amongst NGOs?
Yeah, I think generally our approach is to include all NGOs that are working in the field of helping refugees. I actually really like it because it's not a situation where we have to get into competition with each other. It's actually the situation where one project facilitates the other project, and we can really channel ourselves into an ecosystem that will finally solve, in my opinion, the refugee crisis, maybe even without the major policymakers, state players being involved. And that's the great thing, I think, what opens this situation up is a way of thinking in ministries, in other areas also of NGOs, that are suddenly willing to accept something like online courses, which was the big discussion with massive open online courses the last 7-8 years, as part of a regular curriculum. And of course also a project that helps for people to have a proper meal, or a project that helps people to find housing, that helps people to navigate themselves better through their way to Germany or to whatever their destination might be, is also helpful for your own studies. It's helpful for your own perspective, and in the end, it will help for people to live up again.
Paul, I mean, there's a lot of desire amongst people in the tech community to kind of like just power ahead with solutions as fast as they can and not wait for official permission, right? What do you think are the advantages of that approach? What are the disadvantages?
Well, for one, with what's been happening in the last year, it's been magnificent to see how many people want to help and how many people have begun to build solutions. So many people here, for example, have amazing startups, I'm sure, and then you build this new product, because you think it's needed, maybe a translation app or something. But you know, for everyone who's actually thinking about building something, think first how you can reach the community, how you can engage with your users, because in the end, what we see is that many people build stuff to make themselves feel good, and that is not an approach that is very impactful. So first of all, include someone who is a newcomer into your team. Then we use a lot of Google targeting to actually find the relevant people who are coding for. And you know, if you have a solution that you want to test, come to the Migration Hub, because we opened a co-working space in different cities around Europe that's called the Migration Hub, where change makers can exchange ideas, you can hold a workshop.
How many facilities are there of those right now?
I think at the moment it's 6 in Germany. Actually, Chiron is very close to that as well, so it's probably even more now. Anna is the girl running it. She's a migrant herself. She's from Ecuador.
Right.
And so there, you know, you have different other communities online that have already been dealing with most topics that are relevant, like language, like
so
coordination.
Don't wait too long for official engagement. Is that what you're saying?
That's kind of what I'm saying, but particularly when you work in humanitarian aid and you really build a tool that has impact, you know, you can influence a lot of people, and you can sort of play God in a region that has no system at all in that moment. And if you unleash a monster on too many people that are in a difficult situation, you might actually cause some harm.
Yeah.
So this is why go somewhere, talk about the solution, find the people who are already working with it, because you also need to bring it then to the NGOs and say, look, I've built this and I need your support. So it's not just the tech, it's also the slow coding, the relationship building.
The slow, that's a good phrase. I think that's absolutely very true. And, you know, co-creation with NGOs or co-creation with refugees is incredibly important, don't you think? I mean, if we have time, we've got a little mic we can throw out for any questions. If you put your hand up, I will scan the room quickly. There's one there. We'll try and fit in a couple. One over there. Quickly. Let's start with you over there, madam. If you would like to, we'll get a microphone. Can we get a microphone to you? Or could you move towards the guy with the mic? Who's got the microphone?
Where's the question?
Okay, yeah.
There's a question.
It's going to be tricky. There's a lot of people.
Hi, my name is Amelia. First of all, I commend you all for what you do. Thank you for doing what you're doing. It's absolutely inspirational. My question is for Marcus. Universities and bureaucracy. I had a lot of trouble getting my Canadian degree recognized here in Germany for me to continue my higher education. How did you approach the universities? Did they look at you like you were a crazy person? How did you team up with them? How did you convince them?
Yeah, that's a good question. I actually looked at them like they are crazy people because they approached us in the beginning. So for universities, it's really different why they start working with us. I mean, what we make use of, now it gets very technical, is the Lisbon and the Bologna conference, which actually stated that universities have to structure their curriculums, their teachings, into competencies and not into contents. And what massive open online courses provide is a way to see what competencies a person learns through these courses. So we can actually mimicry, copy the modules that universities have and make sure that the competencies we provide our students with are exactly the competencies that the universities should also have inside of their curriculum. The fun part is that most of the universities haven't really done it consistently. So now we actually force them to follow their own rules, but we are the ones that are kind of setting the standard there for the universities. And they are pretty happy about this, because this enables the whole European Erasmus idea of exchanging knowledge beyond borders, really makes it happen now also on their level. That's one reason why universities work with us. Of course, another reason is because many professors, universities themselves, they really have a sincere interest in helping refugees, but they are just bound to legal boundaries that they can't overcome. The whole Hochschulzugangsberechtigungsissue, high school certification, all that kind of stuff. And then the third thing is also the strategy of universities themselves. Of course, they are already thinking about the digital world and what is possible there, don't really understand what the internet is yet. So we can also show them and kind of offer a playground for their own development, just to test it out. And the technical universities, for example, in Germany, already had this hidden plan to build up a technical curriculum that you can offer all over the world to really pull the brightest minds from South Asia, Africa, Latin America into Germany. And we are basically helping them to fulfill their mission, and they're helping us to fulfill our mission.
Well, great. I think we have, that's about it. Okay, okay, just before we go, everybody tell everybody here how they can get involved and how they can help you guys. Just go, just quickly.
Well, with Shadowmeal, you can obviously download the app, but if you feel like reaching out, please do so. The email address is hello@shadowmeal.org.
Awesome. How can we help Chiron?
You want to answer the question?
How can we all help you?
Okay.
What do you need?
Helping me.
Well, I think first of all, the donation door is open for more students to involve. I think how much the cost of each student study with Chiron?
Like 2,000 to 3,000 for the whole study track.
Yeah, something like that. And actually, and most important, everyone who knows a refugee or a newcomer or whatever who would like to be involved in higher education or continue his studies, like I see a huge amount of people like to reach more students. Even if not individually, any whatever companies or any way of spreading the news of Chiron would be helpful. And would you like to add something, Marcus?
And we still need coders, actually. We always need coders. We have an amazing team, an amazing CTO. They always do a lot of stuff with Google. So if there's any coders in the audience, that would be amazing.
Okay, great. A few people, I think, will probably take you up on that offer. Paula, how can we help you guys?
Yeah, we're going to start running more startup boats at the border between Greece and Turkey now. And we're also starting a arts and a music festival in order to bring together different people from different nations to actually play music together, to use the arts also to develop solutions differently for cultural and communication issues. So
what's that going to be called?
We don't know yet,
okay.
But we're developing the concept at the
I think
moment.
a few people would be into that, right? Yeah. Festival.
So it's going to be a little bit something like a Burning Man for the region.
I think we're in. We're definitely in. And finally, from me, Mike Butcher, you can reach me on mike@techfugees.com if you want to talk to us about TechFugees and the fact that we're also going to be building a platform, skill sharing and technology solutions with an open API we call Base Fugees. We're just fundraising for that now. For me, thank you very much, and please thank our panel.
What an answer.
Okay. So welcome, everyone. Everyone enjoy that that was great, wasn't it? Yes, think so was amazing? Yes, thank you. Okay, so continuing on in this, like, doing stuff for good, we have a really, really amazing speaker who I'm going to introduce in just a little bit of time. But before that, this talk is going to be really, really popular. And again, everyone with a free seat next to them, can you please put your hand up in the air? Put your hand up in the air, wave it around like you just don't care. And then all the people standing in the doorway, all the people standing, can you please come forward and fill these seats? Are you nice people down here? Are you nice? Yeah, they won't bite you, maybe. Okay, and I have one other request. All the people sitting down on the steps over in this back corner here, can you say hello? Hello? Yeah, cool. I need you guys to stand up, stand up, stand up. And I need you guys to push in, find a seat here, or come down the front and sit here. And then that would be so, so amazing. We need that free for technical. Thank you so much. Beautiful. Yeah, good exercise. All right. Just while we're changing over the microphones. Fantastic. All right, cool. Who has downloaded the Tech Open Air app? Who loves using the Tech Open Air app? Who is going to use the Tech Open Air app tomorrow for the satellite events? Which satellite events are you going for? No? Okay, cool. Okay. No, the Tech Open Air satellite events are a great way to actually see the community. If you're visiting Berlin, I would encourage you to travel as much as possible. You can use the U-Bahn, S-Bahn, you can use your bike, you can use your legs, you can use a plane if you can fit in it. But get around to as many as you can, meet as many people. These events are put on by the community and a really great showcase of what Berlin has to offer, but also what makes Tech Open Air so amazing is the community that everyone's in. So I encourage you to first download the app. Secondly, look at all the amazing satellite events. Thirdly, come join me for a beer. And fourth, then attend many satellite events tomorrow with a hangover. Sound good? Perfect. Okay. Just waiting. Hey guys, standing over in the corner, can I get you guys to move in, please? Move in down the front. Hi, guys. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! I can't believe it. It's the second last talk. I'm a little bit sad. It's all come to an end so quickly. Maybe I'm being a bit dramatic. I mean, we're going to have hangovers tomorrow and have breakfast together. But I'm really excited for this talk. But before we get started, sorry, I can still see some damn empty seats in the middle. Guys, if you've got an empty seat, if you've got a spare cardboard box, please share it. Put your hand up. Guys, please come down to the front, fill in these seats. That would be amazing. Guys in the middle, could you just move along one seat so we can get there? Or climb over. Do some crowd surfing. It's all good. All right, cool. So, short and sweet introduction. Design for social good. I would love and have the privilege of introducing the head of product design for Facebook, the only website where you really don't know the landing page. Luke, sorry. Whew, I'm going red. Luke!
It's there. Just 1 second. Do you have a clicker? Thank you. This is important. So we're just waiting a couple of minutes for to figure out a couple of technical difficulties with the projection system. In the meantime, I just want to say how incredible this space is. I've definitely never spoken before in a space that's as acoustically amazing as this. So it's a real pleasure to be here. I'm here to talk about designing social good. Hi, TOA. It's a pleasure. My name is Luke Woods. I'm the head of product design at Facebook. You can find me around the internet with LKWDS, my name without any vowels. I don't have any really fancy slides for you today. This is going to be a pretty raw presentation. And I think that mirrors our focus on impact at Facebook. It was 10 years ago that I was in Berlin last. It's a pleasure to be here now. The city has changed tremendously in that time. A little bit before that, I was in school, design school at the University of Cincinnati. The design school is known to folks who know it as DAP. And when I was at DAP, I made friends with this gentleman here, Jay Ott. Jay was studying fashion design. The school included students studying architecture, digital media, graphic design, fashion design, art, urban planning, and so forth. Jay was studying fashion design, and Jay was no ordinary student of design. He was extraordinary. Jay told his parents at the age of 7 that what he wanted to be when he grew up was not Superman. He wanted to be Ralph Lauren. Jay, as a high school student, convinced his school in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, to let him do fashion shows with the entire student body. And he did one at the end of each year. When Jay was doing these at the beginning, he didn't even know how to sew. I think the story goes that he actually stapled or superglued seams of garments together, bought all the fabric from thrift stores, and even once used garbage bags as a makeshift material. Jay maintained an obsessive collection of Vogue magazines. He would purchase 2 copies of each magazine, one to keep in perfect condition for his archive, and a second that he would cut apart and use to make collages, which were his primary manner of sketching and exploring ideas. Jay was a really successful student. When he finished design school in Cincinnati, he moved to New York. He started working at a fashion label called The Row, which you may or may not know. It's a fashion label run by the Olsen twins. Jay really loved being a part of the fashion community in New York. This is a photo of him with Bill Cunningham, who just passed away a couple weeks ago. And with the Olsen twins and the team of designers at The Row, he worked to create a number of high fashion collections and helped The Row to win a series of different awards from the Council of Fashion Designers of America. I live in San Francisco, and whenever I would go to New York, which would be once or twice a year, I would always make it a point to visit Jay and catch up with him. This was a great routine. Until one day I got a really weird message. I got a message from Beatrice, one of Jay's best friends, saying that he had gone missing, that nobody had heard from him for the past 24 hours. Gone missing? Who goes missing? This is really bizarre. Did Jay decide to go on a spontaneous vacation? Did he just happen to forget his phone somewhere? Is his phone out of batteries? What's going on? So I started reaching out to people to try to find out. All of Jay's friends started reaching out to people to try to find out. And a community was started, a community called Find Jay Ott. If you're visiting from New York, you may have seen these missing person posters that were plastered all over the city as people rallied around trying to find where Jay might be and what might have happened. The story got picked up by the local news. It spread on Facebook. It got picked up by a number of publications, the New York Times, New York Magazine, People Magazine, and a very long list. We didn't know what was going on. Several days into the search, we got a new bit of information. The security camera at Jay's building, the building of his loft in Brooklyn, had captured this image of him leaving his apartment at like 3 or 4 in the morning. So we knew what he was wearing. We knew he was walking in the direction of Manhattan, and that was it. Everything else was a mystery. The search continued. These flyers were everywhere, and days turned into a week to 2 weeks, and about 3 weeks later, Jay's body was found in the East River. Again, with no explanation, what could have happened. A few days after that, an autopsy was done, and it was determined that Jay's cause of death was drowning, and his manner of death is unknown and will forever remain a mystery. Jay is somebody who I was super close to, an inspiration personally, and also I think an inspiration for many of us in the creative community. His story really sets the stage for the type of work that we're doing at Facebook that's focused on social good. This work is all about empowering people to come together to try to help one another. And I'd like to share a few different examples of that work. This is all early days work. It's something that we're just getting started on. Suicide prevention. So over 800,000 people a year die due to suicide, according to the World Health Organization. Although there are many, many more attempts than this figure. Suicide was the second leading cause of death amongst 15 to 29-year-olds globally in 2012. You probably think of Facebook as a place to share photos of your friends and family, maybe a place to wish others happy birthday. But Facebook is also a place where sometimes people put messages out that might be messages that cause you to be concerned. What can we do to help in these kinds of situations? One thing that we can do, and one thing that we're doing, is partnering with different suicide prevention experts in the academic community. This example is from the University of Washington, where I went to graduate school, Forefront, and is a group that really tries to understand what we can do to help to prevent suicide. So if you see a post on Facebook that causes you to be concerned, you can go ahead and report that post, and Facebook will connect you with the latest recommendation and advice from the experts in suicide prevention. The advice includes things like, for example, it's not great to talk with someone who is at risk about them committing suicide, because that seems like a crime, and it actually increases their feelings of guilt. So there are a whole bunch of tips for you, the person who's worried, who's empowered to try to help their friend. There are also a whole bunch of tips for the person that you're worried about. So when that individual comes back to Facebook, we actually pause their Facebook experience, and we take them here. Oop, this is actually a video, but we won't watch it, that's okay. We try to connect them with their local suicide prevention hotline or experts or the existing infrastructure in their community, as well as providing general tips and recommendations that have been proven in the academic community to help. This is a small example of steps that we're taking with Facebook and designing Facebook to empower people to help one another and to try to do more good in the world. Another such example is a product that we call Safety Check. Safety Check you may have heard of. You may not know that Safety Check was started in Japan in 2011 following the earthquake and the tsunami. And at that time, the phone lines in Japan were all down. And as a result, people were turning to products like Facebook to try to communicate with their friends and their loved ones, to check in on who's okay, and to ease your concerns in this time of crisis. An intern in our small office in Tokyo was really inspired by this and began hacking together a solution, a way to productize this on Facebook, a way to structure the data, a way to make it more scalable and more helpful to those who are experiencing a crisis and their loved ones. The way that the product works is very simple. If you're in an affected area, you receive a notification to pull you in. You can mark yourself as safe or otherwise, and then you can very simply check on your friends to see how they're doing. Safety Check is something that we have initiated 19 times this year and across the globe, and over 1 billion people have received notifications that their loved ones who are in affected areas are safe. I've mentioned a couple times now that social good at Facebook is all about empowering people to do good and to help one another. And we aspire for Safety Check to be available and to be present any time that people are in danger and any time that it could be helpful. As such, we've recently been doing some work on what we're calling community-activated Safety Check. And community-activated Safety Check means that when there's a crisis, when something is going on somewhere, people come to Facebook naturally to post. And when they do, Facebook, after they post, will prompt them, would you like to turn on Safety Check in this particular area? And if you say yes, we'll ask for your status. You can say, I'm safe. And then we actually encourage you to invite your friends by asking who is safe. In that way, somebody can start Safety Check and pull in all of their friends and organically create this kind of network. This is something that we're really excited about. We've been quietly testing this, but the community of Facebook has actually already initiated 2 safety checks, both very recent, one in Baghdad and one a couple weeks ago in Orlando. Safety Check, again, is all about bringing people together and empowering people to look out for one another. I have one last example that I'd like to share a little bit about today, which is charitable giving. You may recall from a year or 2 ago the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, which was an incredible phenomenon where people contributed over $100 million to the ALS Foundation over the course of a few months. One of the really amazing things about that is you can see in the comment here from the ALS Association that they're actually providing people with information for how you might send a paper check in the mail to them. So there's a huge amount of friction involved there, and a huge amount that could be reduced. We got really excited about helping to make this kind of fundraising easier for people, and so we decided to start taking small steps in that direction. The first small step it was for Ebola, which you may remember being a hot topic not so long ago. So we quickly put together an experience that would enable Facebook to ask people to donate to the cause. We learned a lot from this, and we refined the design, the product, and the technology. And we did a similar thing a little while later for Nepal, after the Nepal earthquake. And we focused a lot of our energy on reducing as much friction and removing as much choice as is unnecessary from the donation flow. So you can see here that your payment credential might be pre-filled. There's a pre-selected organization that you're donating to, and there are even some recommended and there's a pre-filled amount, which makes it quite easy to donate. And all of these small changes and refinements helped the people who use Facebook to raise about $15 million for relief in Nepal. What's incredible about that to me is that the $15 million came from 770,000 unique people. So it's a huge number of people donating very small sums of money from around the world. That's just a small step, though, in the overall vision that we're pursuing. A next step is moving away from Facebook-initiated fundraising to charities being able to initiate fundraisers themselves. And actually, as we speak, we are slowly rolling out a test that will empower people who use Facebook to initiate fundraisers for the causes that they care about. For the time being, anyone will be able to initiate a fundraiser. However, we are only starting with nonprofits that are based in the US. We're very excited, though, to scale to global nonprofits as quickly as we can. This is just a fun anecdote. At Facebook, we really like to dog food and internally try all of our products. And Jeanette from the design team had this great idea for engaging her community of donors to the WWF, that she would take requests for what animal any donor would like to draw and would thank them by creating this special drawing just for them. So charitable giving, we're taking small steps forward, but as with suicide prevention, as with Safety Check, it's really all about how can the people who are part of the community of Facebook, how can we empower them to help one another? I'm really excited about this type of work. I'm excited about it because it's about designing and building products for the full range of experiences that characterize the human condition. It's not really about the flashiest design solution, nor is it about the latest technology. It's really about problems that people are facing and how we can connect people and bring them together to support one another. This is work that we're just getting started with at Facebook. This is one of my favorite Facebook sayings: the journey is 1% finished. I also think that this is the kind of work that I would love to see more of from the broader tech and the broader design community. I think that the potential for impact that we have in the social good space is enormous, and I think the potential for connecting people and empowering people to help one another is a particularly important part of that. Thank you so much for your time. And
Luke, thank you so much. So one question from my side: did you do the ice bucket challenge?
Sadly, I did not do the ice bucket challenge.
There's still time, though, I hear, right? It's an ongoing thing, so we can work on it, maybe.
I'm open if you want to do it together.
He's good. He's good. All right, we may do it together. Any question? Maybe we take one or two questions because we're a little behind. But if you have one or two questions, ideally you can come in front, or do we have a mic going around?
You're welcome.
Hey. Hello, I'm Kate. Are you guys, it's very funny, the last part, the charity, is very good, but it also looks a little bit like Kickstarter with this little burst. Are you looking into becoming a next Kickstarter on the Facebook?
So the question, in case folks didn't hear, is about what's the relationship between fundraising on Kickstarter and fundraising on Facebook. And a couple thoughts there. First, we're really focused right now on fundraising for charities. And I think that that's a little bit different from the direction that Kickstarter or other crowdfunding platforms are taking. I also think that there's something special about the community of 1.65 billion people who are using Facebook, and enabling that group of people to do the things that they're already doing today, as you can see from the Ice Bucket Challenge, in a way that's just a little bit more streamlined and a little bit more efficient.
Just to build upon that last question, we were discussing, is this an opportunity for Facebook also to monetize this transaction, or is the funding going directly to the cause when someone's donating using this charitable giving function?
It's a great question. It's about some of the details of the funding and where does it go. We want as much of the funding as possible to go directly to the nonprofits. It's also important that this product is a sustainable product that we can scale. So I don't recall what the rate is, but there's a pretty standard small percentage rate that a number of organizations use in order to fund the payment processing. So we're not interested in this as a revenue stream. Our goal here is social good and is empowering people to raise money for the causes that they care about. But it's also important that it's a product that's set up to scale and is self-sustaining.
Thank you so much. Thanks for taking the time also for another question. Thank you for coming by. All right, which brings us more or less to our last talk of the day. And you may hate me now, but I would love to do this Schnick, Schnack, Schnuck one more time just to get you guys energized. So all of you just stand up for 1 second. This takes literally 5 seconds if we do it fast. You all know the game. It's called Schnick, Schnack, Schnuck or rock, paper, scissors. Choose a partner next to you and just have a single game. No Wimbledon 5-set match, just a short and sweet. And you guys can play revenges later. If you're lucky, you get a revenge. All right, no 5 sets, guys. I think everybody's playing different rules. That should only have one rule. It's a 2,000-year-old game. All right. Cool. All right. The more people, the longer it takes. All right, you can all sit down now. And we're nice and refreshed for our last talk. And our next speaker is really dear to our heart because, as you know, at Tech Open Air, we are building a platform for interdisciplinary knowledge exchange and collaboration. We want to bring people together around the theme of technology, and we want to help those that are being disrupted by technology better anticipate the future, and those who disrupt by their technology better understand the world they change. And our next speaker, Yancey Strickler, he's built a platform at a large scale that provides and empowers interdisciplinary collaboration and knowledge exchange. We wanted him last year as a speaker, and we're so happy that after last year didn't work out, this year he's here with us. Please give a huge round of applause for Yancey Strickler, CEO and founder of Kickstarter. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
What's up, y'all? I'm Yancey from Kickstarter. First, a shout out to the woman up front for having our back with Facebook. I appreciate that. So Kickstarter's been around for 7 years. We launched 7 years ago, 2009. We have been live here in Germany for 14 months. So it went live end of last May. In those 14 months, there have been 16 million euro pledged to German projects and creators. And most excitingly, throughout this year, the success rate for German projects is going up month by month, which means that this is a model that is growing and people are becoming more accustomed to, which we're really excited to see. I wanted to shout out 2 quick projects before I get into the talk that I just think are worth putting up on a big screen. There we go. First is a subwoofer on your wrist, clearly something we all need. But the Baselet, a very clever project, up to almost €500,000 in pledges in just a couple of weeks. And another one that I backed, this is a designer in Frankfurt who's done about a dozen projects. This one turning Albert Einstein's handwriting into a font. So it's a very diverse and disparate world on Kickstarter, which is something that we like a lot. And today I want to talk a bit about some of the values behind Kickstarter and what I think it means to be an entrepreneur today. And I want to start by talking about a series of works by a Chinese artist named Zhang Wei. And these are obviously photographs of very famous, iconic people, except that actually these are composite photographs of just Chinese people who Zhang takes portraits of. And his thesis is that in this mass media age, we are defined more by the media heroes than we even are by ourselves. So each of these photos is a composite of 1,000 different faces, Chinese faces, and it's just showing how that is a lot of what defines us. Now, I think if we think about footballers or pop stars or teenagers, we think, sure, everyone has their idols that shape the way they think about things, but this is also true in technology, and I think it's important to be aware of the ways that we are influenced. So if you look at tech media, and just the way business is covered today, it is quite violent. It is extremely aggressive, out for blood, go to war, own the world. Companies are judged not by how many jobs they create, but by how many jobs they end. Those are the ones that are celebrated. It's very divisive, it's very aggressive. And at the core of this, of course, is money. It's people investing money in these companies, people trying to make more money for themselves, and ultimately that is the end goal of all these things, infinite growth for the desire of infinite riches. Now, of course, when all of society works this way, the results are horrific. It is inequality. It is an incredibly imbalanced society. And it is one that is increasingly led by a money monoculture of just people trying to optimize their money to make more money, and the rest of the world is just a palette for them to operate on. And you see this across everything. In music, a shockingly high number of hit pop songs are written by 4 mostly bald Scandinavian men. In Hollywood, most of what we see now are sequels or remakes of existing IP, all presented in IMAX and 3D. Every magazine cover has Taylor Swift on it. And all of these things are because these are the safe bets. For someone looking to make money on their money, you get safe bets. And this is the sort of culture that you get. And it's not just the cultural landscape that's shaped, it's even the physical landscape. This is a map of New York City. It's still not loading. Looks like we're frozen. Yeah, there we go. So I live in New York City. Currently in New York, in just Manhattan, there are 1,800 physical bank locations across the city. That is up 60% from 10 years ago. You would think the ATM was never invented. And the challenge challenge with all these banks appearing on street corners or other chains, restaurants, clothing stores, cell phone stores, whatever, is that what had been there before were local businesses, were small shops run by New Yorkers for their community. But commercial real estate has become the new easy way to make money. And so the rents get jacked up, the person that's been there for 30 years gets pushed out, and a Bank of America goes into its place. This is how a city dies. This is how a culture dies. And this is increasingly happening. This is the globalization that is appearing around the world. It's sort of a moneyed imperialism of changing local cultures. And it's really hard to talk about, and it's really important to talk about at the same time. Berlin is feeling this. It seems like any city that has any kind of dynamic culture or where young people live at all starts to experience this, and it's unclear what to do about it. And so I think this is true for entrepreneurs. I think it's true for cities. I think this is the big battle of our age. So what can you do about it? I don't have like a solution, but I have 3 places where I think it starts. And the first is don't sell out. Now, I'm 37 years old. I grew up with like the Kurt Cobain, corporate rock sucks, selling out is the worst thing you could ever do school of thought. And selling out means you have a great idea and then you use it to just personally enrich yourself, and who gives a shit about what happens to it afterwards? The idea of selling out being bad, that has gone out of style. Now selling out is cool. That is to be celebrated. Oh, they exited for how much money? Wow, they're like super awesome. It's very short-sighted. And it suggests a very bottom-line thinking that is not in the broader self-interest of society, that is just in the self-interest of those entrepreneurs, of those people who hold all that equity. Don't sell out also means you don't sell out your values or your culture to hit a short-term gain, to try to make the deal happen, that you have a clear set of values that you're operating with. Taking a big VC round is another type of selling out, because once you take a big check like that, you're not able to guide your mission on your own terms. You are having to follow somebody else's. And so to not sell out, it's important that you are sustainable as a business. So you have a source of revenue that allows you to continue to operate and grow. This is an incredibly liberating thing. It lets you be your own bitch. It lets you call the shots and do what you want to do. For Kickstarter, we have operated in the black since our 14th month of business. June 2010, we were in the black for the first time, and we have stayed there. We operate within our means. Every dollar we spend, we're quite thoughtful of, because this is not a big VC check. This is money that was earned through people having success with our service. So we think very carefully about how we spend that. But if you're able to have your own source of revenue and you're able to sustain yourself, you don't have to sell out. You continue to operate in whatever way you like. And that leads to the second point, which is that you should be idealistic. You know, when you start a company, there are so many, or any sort of project, you know, you're really compelled by just some deep burning thing in your heart. There's something you really want to change, or something you really want to be different. And I think those things come from very idealistic places. But the challenge as something exists and is out there in the world is that every day, there are infinite opportunities to compromise on that vision. It could be that a competitor has done something that seems like it might be successful. It's not something you ever thought you would do, but, oh wait, do we have to do this now? Is this the new terms of engagement? And so you have to be very careful about your beliefs. You don't want to sink into the morass of industry standards, because industry standards are lowering every single day by everyone just trying to chase growth, chase revenue, and it just okays other people to do the same. So you really have to lock in your values and the ideals behind your project from the very beginning. At that nascent stage where it's all romance and you're just dreaming how big, how powerful can this thing be, think about the things that are important to you then and lock them in. Make sure you always stay true to those things, that you act with integrity. We were very clear about this for Kickstarter from the very beginning. Myself and my co-founders, Perry Chin and Charles Adler, we vowed from the beginning that we never wanted to sell Kickstarter. We never wanted to try to IPO, that we thought about this as a sort of public trust, that it made sense to us that In society, there should be a place reserved for new ideas, and that's a place that should be protected. It's not something that should be sullied by overt commercialization or advertising or any of those sorts of corrupting forces. It should be kept as a place for ideas as pure as it can be. So we've always operated with that mentality. And last year, we took an additional step to legally formalize that, becoming a benefit corporation, a public benefit corporation. This is a very new thing in the United States. And what this says is that it legally binds you to have a positive influence on society. And you draft a charter to say on what basis that will happen. For us, it was about supporting artistic and creative works, especially those in less commercial areas. It includes a pledge to not employ legal but esoteric tax avoidance strategies. It includes a pledge to engage with issues facing artists and creators beyond our walls. It includes pledging to donate 5% of our after-tax profits every year to organizations fighting to end systemic inequality and organizations providing arts and music education in New York City. So these are the things that were important to us, that we spent a lot of time drafting and have legally bound the company to follow for as long as it exists. And this is a way that the ideals that are so present in the creation of Kickstarter and are so present in the 120 of us who work there, that those things are maintained throughout its entire life. The third point is to be generous. So, to be perfectly honest, acting out of integrity and values is a harder road in a lot of ways. It means you're not going to have that big check because that VC who asked you, you'll do anything if we give you this 40 million, right? Yeah, totally. No, you don't do those things. Instead, you're operating within your means. Every choice you have to make is a real choice. And yeah, it's sort of a slower road. You're not going for the hockey stick. We want to be huge overnight. It's a longer haul. But in more important ways, it's easier. It's easier because those decisions where there's a moral question about what to do and balancing the needs of the business with what you believe to be right, there's more clarity on those things. There's more freedom to act with conviction. Just a small example, last week was a horrific week in the US for, there are 2 murders of people by police, and there was then murders of police in response, quite awful. And we felt that, this is obviously just a huge watershed moment that is deeply affecting. So we put on the nav of Kickstarter, right below our logo, Black Lives Matter, and directing people to a page where they can support them and get involved. And that was something that it's obviously a small thing in the grand scheme of things, but there's a clarity for us about there's something wrong. We really have a strong position on this, and we need to express it. And we need to feel free to do that. And so because these things are in place, we have the freedom to act with conviction. But, being generous is important because it takes a lot to take this path. It takes a lot of strength, a lot of fortitude, a lot of conviction. And we have to support other people who do that. We have to support other artists, other creators. You have to support them directly. And people are willing to do this. I mean, this is the stats for Kickstarter to date. So it's 7 years, $2.5 billion, 100,000 successfully funded projects, 11 million plus backers. And these are people supporting projects just because they think they're cool, because it's interesting, they like the idea of a world where that exists. This is not for financial self-interest. This is not the money monoculture. This is people just wanting to support someone doing something cool. And there are lots of ways to do that. If you've been listening to someone's album on Spotify for the last week or on SoundCloud, go to Bandcamp and buy their record. Make sure you give them money. Support independent businesses rather than chains. Really choose to spend your money and put your energy towards people, towards artists, towards companies that are behaving in this way. If gravitational forces start to shift in that direction, it will shift culture. It really will. And Kickstarter's internal handbook, when new employees start, includes a lot of our philosophy in thinking about the world. And this is the final page. We champion and celebrate the creation of art and culture. Fuck the monoculture. So for us, our mission is around creative projects. The way we're trying to fuck the monoculture is through encouraging art and creativity and a more richer, diverse culture that is less controlled by money, that is more controlled by individual voices and by audiences. But there are lots of ways to do that. There's lots of ways to challenge the status quo. And that is the reason I was really excited to come to Berlin. Because I think this is a very interesting moment in the life of this community. After what happened in the UK 2 weeks ago, it seems quite likely that the gravitational force of technology innovation will shift squarely to Berlin. And that's going to mean a lot of changes. It's probably going to mean a lot more money coming into this community. It's going to mean more people coming here to start things. And at a moment like this, I think there's a very interesting opportunity for this community to define what it means to be a company from Berlin. So if you think about American companies, Silicon Valley companies, there's a lot of focus on hypergrowth, on disruption, things along those lines. A lot of power being amassed in platforms and users having very little power. And I would suggest that for Berlin, there's an opportunity to balance that. There's an opportunity to build a code around building products or services or exploring creative projects that empower the individual, that are about decentralizing the web, that are about giving everyone more power over their data, over what their experience is online, that are about paying creators and supporting people pursuing open source or pursuing projects that are not simply looking to make as much money as possible. The internet needs a force like this. It needs a counterbalance. It needs someone looking out for the rights of the individuals because we're moving towards the future at a very fast rate. And just a few projects here can really define a new way of thinking and a new future for the web. And I think that this is a moment where groups of people here in this room can make choices, can draft language, can think about what it means for this city to be producing schools of thought that are starting to shape the world. This is the moment where you can really define that, and I encourage you to take advantage of that moment. Yeah. And that's all I've got for you. It's such a privilege to speak in this room and be with all of you. Just thank you so much for listening and for having me here today. And yeah, thank you so much.
What a talk. What a talk to Entor. Are you up for a few questions? Are you up for a few questions from the audience?
Sure. Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
Any question from the audience? Yep, here.
Thank you very much for this wonderful talk. I have one question where you said that we are more and more, or we can, as a consumer, decide where we are going in the society and that the society will shift at some point. Kickstarter is a good example, I think. I don't know if you know, Redbubble is a good example too. And where do you think we are in this transition? Are we on a good way or are we stagnating or?
Yeah, it seems to me like it's growing. I mean, certainly, like just even the Kickstarter model, as we saw from the Facebook presentation, is continuing to grow. But I think that obviously there's a lot more empowerment happening along these lines. But there are critical mass moments where things change. I think in the U.S. we've seen this in the world of food and agribusiness. A big shift towards organic products that really took, I think, a lot of people by surprise, but it was really led by consumers saying, I'm just more interested in supporting these sorts of things and that sort of things. And all these giant companies that are just, focused on their own self-interest, they're like, okay, that's what we have to build now. So there's a co-opting of that maybe is not great, but ultimately it is shifting society in a more sustainable direction. So I think the swing is possible. I mean, I think a lot of people are ready for it. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Hi.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your motivational speech. I wanted to know the stand of Kickstarter towards Bitcoin and decentralized initiatives like Open Bazaar.
Yeah, the question was, what do I think about Bitcoin and OpenBazaar? I'm starting to understand the blockchain. Starting to. I can fake it. Yeah, I'm very supportive of Bitcoin, Ethereum. I think OpenBazaar is a great project. I think a level of decentralized marketplace like that is quite radical, and I can't even begin to think about what all that means, but I'm very interested in models like that happening. We currently don't accept Bitcoin on Kickstarter because the currency fluctuations are so wild, and we don't collect your charge for like 30 days, so there's always some funkiness there. But certainly I root for the success of alternative models like those. Anything else?
Any other question? Yeah.
So I want to know what's your opinion regarding crowd giving. So like there are many companies like trying to raise money for charity, and is Kickstarter doing something about crowd giving and this kind of projects?
So Kickstarter is, our focus is squarely on creative projects. So we don't, if there is obviously like if you're raising money for like a conservatory or a school that's teaching, music, something like that is something that we permit, but we don't allow charitable funding. We're just focused on creativity. My partner Perry first had the idea for this entire model, came up with the concept of crowdfunding in 2001. And at the time, saw that this could be used for any number of models, but he's an artist. I was a music critic before. Charles was a graphic designer. So we are not traditional entrepreneurs. We are creative people. So this is always what we've been focused on doing. But certainly, as a model of a disaggregated fundraising, it's worked incredibly well for charitable causes, for all sorts of things. I think it's a model that will be applied to more and more stuff as time goes on.
Thank you very much, Yancy.
Yeah, thank you all so much.
Give him a big round of applause. Thanks for coming by, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Just a few closing remarks since we're wrapping up the conference part. But that doesn't mean tour is ending. And while I'm saying that, we do a little tradition and get some of the team members that are sticking around maybe on stage for a team photo. The conference will end now, but the satellite events will continue. So tonight and tomorrow, all day long, we have satellite events. You guys can check the app for that. There's still availability. They're not all at full capacity. So do make use of that. Yeah, that's it from our side. Thank you very much. Bye.
Here I am in the place where I come let go. In Miami, the bass and the sunset low. Every day like a Mardi Gras. Everybody party all